Hey guys, welcome to my channel, Realm of Ori. In this video, we will continue with Volume 16, Chapter 1, The Betrayal, Part 1. And before we start, this video contains spoilers from the Tensura Light Novel. And by the way guys, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click on the bell icon to get notifications for upcoming videos. So without further ado, let's get into the video. The Phantom King Feldway and the Emperor Rudra, or should I say Michael, have left. Even though it wasn't over, the way they felt about it wore them down. There are still things that make me feel uneasy, but for now I want to be happy that everyone is safe. First, the after improvement and future countermeasures will be delayed. Only Carrion, Frey, and the others fell asleep, so I told Testarossa to send them back in a quiet way. When things calm down, there are other things to think about, but right now I'm full of ideas for a party. We tried to invite Laplace because it was a rare chance, but when Diablo went to get him, the other party seemed to have left. In his own way, that guy was also missing his companions, so on second thought, it would have been better not to contact him here. We still agreed to fight together, and if something happens over there, I'll help, so let's leave them alone for now. So, we went back to the capital, Rimuru, but at that time, I got an unexpected report. A small part of the town's edge was burned down. Due to Geld's guard, the damage wasn't as bad as it seemed. The fire didn't spread because the buildings around it were destroyed, and the people who worked there only got minor injuries. The best news was that there were no deaths. But there is bad news as well. Still, everything had happened and was done, so there was no point in getting upset now. I tried to calm down because I wanted to hear Geld's report first. But Geld wasn't the only one waiting in line to tell me what happened. The banquet hall is the place. The executives, who was very busy this time, sat down, and Shuna, Haruna, and Gobchi's goons rushed to go make food for everyone. Given how important the situation was, I also thought it was a little bit of a bummer to hear the report in such a setting. Veldora was sitting in the seat to my right, but he refused to move, even though he didn't plan to listen. I've always known that Veldora is moody, so I'm used to it. It would be easier to just give up and not worry about it than to try to change his mind. So, Benimaru sat to my left, and Xian and Diablo stood behind me as usual. They were already ready to hear the report, so they didn't need to do anything else. Diablo remained silent, and Xian went to eat with everyone, but Xian insisted on waiting until later, presumably against Xian's own rules, so I agreed. Let's see who's come to report once more. Geld was seated in front of me, while Adalman was seated right across from Benimaru, with a mild sense of uneasiness. He also seems to have finished his evolution, though his body's atmosphere has changed a little. I plan to ask him to report separately on the details of this at the right time. Ramiris was sitting across from Veldora, and Treyni and Beretta were standing behind the chairs to serve her. Well, I've always thought Master would be alright. Although, when Master's exaggerated sister blew up the upper tier of the maze, even I felt that was a little terrible. We assumed, however, that Master would be alright if he did it. So, from the start, we didn't worry about anything. Kuhahaha, it only makes sense. Even if the other person was my sister, I wasn't the least bit scared. Still, I was a little bit careless, but it was those dirty obstructionists who went after me and ruined my win. Even I was scared, and I don't see anything wrong with that. And, to be honest, an evolved Velgrynd is quite dangerous. Even if Veldora tried to beat her, he only had a 50% probability of succeeding, thus I think it's best not to get carried away. But everyone who heard those words right now stood up and cheered. That's not bad for Veldora-sama, but I need to work hard too. Charys nodded several times in a serious way. In the end, it was a really great fight. I thought I had grown and gotten stronger, but now I know I have a long way to go. Benimaru did the same, because he spoke from the heart, and Veldora listened with a look of satisfaction and victory on his face. Veldora stopped laughing when Ramiris said something, though. You're always careless, Master. But there probably isn't anything left to worry about. Probably? Ramiris, what do you mean? I knew that the words couldn't have too many letters. When you talk too much, you can sometimes go too far. Because, now that man. I'm just relieved to have my master. That man? Ramiris's words were unsettling. No, it's not. Is it okay? Even though I am invincible, yet there are times when I don't feel so good. Veldora also seemed to remember something, and when he saw that he had dug his own grave, he too started making excuses. But I think it's too late now, so forget about it. It happens all the time, so don't worry about it. I'm more worried about Vesta, which is sitting in the corner. I put Veldora and the others aside and asked the rest of the group what was going on. The story goes back before Velgrynd invade the Labyrinth. As soon as Rimuru went to the Empire, the people he left behind were in trouble. The happy mood that had been there up until now was gone in a flash. Ramiris, who was going back to the deepest part of the maze, had the same problem. The Dragon Kings had finished their evolution on their own, which made Ramiris very happy. Rimuru and the others only did an emergency move at this point, which made her feel a little uneasy. Ramiris wanted to be happy every day, and the Jura Tempest Federation was the perfect place for her to feel like she could do that. It was important to Ramiris because she had been alone for a long time and could only talk to the ghosts to get rid of her loneliness. It was something she didn't want to ever give up. She was afraid of losing this place because of this. Even so, she felt, as usual, that it didn't matter as long as Rimuru was there. But Ramiris couldn't get rid of an uneasy feeling that kept coming back, and the prediction was right. Velgrynd, Veldora's sister, attacks, destroying the labyrinth that Ramiris is so proud of. Physically, the labyrinth can't be destroyed, but the true dragon seed is an unreasonable thing that can make that possible. When Ramiris saw Velgrynd's figure, it brought back memories from long ago that she had forgotten. A long time ago, not long before Ramiris was born, she had seen Veldora, who looked a lot like the great Veldonava but was on the loose. Veldora's main power was wind, which is why his name means storm dragon, but he can also control space and water. With his huge amount of mana, which was second only to Veldonava's, he was just the storm itself. Veldora's berserk power was considered to be the strongest on the ground, as if he were the exact embodiment of the heavenly calamity. But his two sisters had a power that went even further, to another level. The flame attribute of Velgrynd is the worst match for Veldora's wind attribute. She could make the difference in mana worthless by standing over Veldora and having a strong presence. But that is not a bad thing by itself. After all, there is an even bigger difference in power that makes it impossible to win or lose the game. Velzard, the oldest sister, is the real threat. Velzard's trait is ice, but she is not water at her core. She is something else. Velzard has the ability to deceive others with her authority, deceiving others about her own characteristics so that no one knows the reality. Ramiris had heard Veldonava once, so she knew the truth about Velzard's many qualities. No, it was already known. But, because she kept coming back to life, she forgot about these things. No, it wasn't completely forgotten, but Ramiris always had to work hard to remember old things. So, Ramiris thought it was lucky that Velgrynd was Veldora's opponent this time. If Velzard had been the opponent instead, Ramiris thought it would have been impossible for Veldora to win. Ramiris remembered how Velzard had killed the raging Veldora with one blow and how her icy, frozen eyes didn't seem to care. Now, it's not too much of a stretch to say that Ramiris is very worried about Veldora. She couldn't calm down, so she ran all over the room. "Are you okay, Master?" This kind of question shows Ramiris's worry, but it also includes the phrase, "it's okay to run away," which is actually an attempt to show Veldora care. But Veldora said the same thing in response. "Don't worry, just stay here and admire how brave I am." Veldora looked like he was relieved, but there was no sign of worry in his heart. He left the maze alone, full and confident. Veldora was dazzling to Ramiris at this point. When she thought about how Veldora used to be, this change made her happy. After Veldora left to deal with Velgrynd, Ramiris looked around the control room to see who was still there. Veldora said that Charys couldn't be a warrior, so she had to stay behind. With Velgrynd, who has the flame attribute, as an opponent, Charys won't be much help. Beretta kept his cool, and when Ramiris saw him acting like himself, she felt better. Rimuru had turned some people into spirit tree doll dryads, and now there were 24 of them working as reporters under Beretta's command. Since Rimuru was busy letting them all change, the whole crew became very good at running mazes. Treyni and her sisters Tria and Tris were there, watching over Ramiris with the same kind faces they always have. There are Vesta and Dino, and the individuals who just became researchers. That is, Shinji Tanimura, Mark Lauren, and Jen Lu Xing, along with trainee assistants Lucius and Raymond. The 5 are Gadra's men when the maze goes to war, but Gadra isn't there right now, so they've come to help Ramiris in the control room. Everyone worriedly looked back at Ramiris. So, Ramiris put on purpose a lighter tone of voice. "Really, I don't worry. I'm sure that Master will win, and even if he doesn't, Rimuru will find a way to fix it, and I'm not wrong. In the end, though, Master is unbeatable as long as you don't overlook him." When Ramiris heard her own words, she calmed down. If it's Veldora and Rimuru, they'll be able to get back to a normal, quiet life. I guess the uncomfortable feeling could have been gone, but right after she had that thought, something bad happened. Warning. There's an intruder Alpha, who was in charge, yelled loudly. When everyone heard this, they immediately went into battle mode. Show on the screen. As soon as Beretta gave the order, a part of the main screen split into two and started showing the invasion. When Ramiris saw the figure standing there, he couldn't help but scream. Isn't that an angel? It's not just the flesh that's changed, he's also getting worse. He's got a pretty dangerous vibe about him. In fact, the people who broke in are very foreign. The person's pure white clothes were covered with mythical items that gave off a black and gold glow. The person's long black hair also gave off a glow that looked like broken starlight, which added to their beauty. The 3 pairs to 6 pure white wings on the back of the first man made him even more curious. The energy value calculation is wrong. This is what happened. Tell now. At Treyni's request, Alpha got back together. Even though it's just a guess, the leading person's existence is worth more than 3 million. The next 5 are thought to be worth between 400,000 and 700,000. Alpha's statement was able to freeze the air in the control room. I didn't think it would be a super awakened. It's Seraphim, anyway. Ramiris paused in the middle of her sentence. Beretta nodded back and started to explain. That's a lot of problems, especially because the other side is likewise S-ranked. Since the floor guardians had also fallen asleep, it would be hard to meet such an enemy. But, doing nothing isn't good, is it? Treyni smiled softly and opened her mouth, as if to calm down Ramiris, who was answering in a panic. Yes, Lady Ramiris, you are right. So let me go meet the enemy. Tria and Tris also stood up, as if to follow Treyni. I'll go with you, no problem. Sister, I'll come along too. When Ramiris heard this, she didn't calm down. Instead, she got even more scared. Wait. You guys did get stronger, but you're still way outnumbered by them, right? Well, no problem. The existence value is just a pointer, so let's use this chance to show everyone how powerful Lady Ramiris's group is. When Tria and Tris heard this, they both gave a hard nod of the head. Ramiris attempted to stop them but was unable to do so. But it was no longer acceptable for the hosts to put all of the danger on the lovely Treyni sisters. It won't help. Rimuru and Master have both said that we only need to fight with certainty. Anyway, use the maze first to buy time, and things might get better in the meantime. Ramiris started to run away from reality. Charys was the one who tried to talk her out of it. Lady Ramiris, I'm sorry to say that it should be hard to buy time. We can't let the enemy come close while the guards on the floor are sleeping. If we do, important facilities on the other side could be destroyed. At the moment, there is only one choice. I'm also ready to strike, and I hope you'll give me permission to. Veldora had left, so Charys was now the strongest man here. He said these words because he knew he had to do something. Lord Beretta, it is your job to protect Lady Ramiris. Understood. I will look after Lady Ramiris. Beretta wasn't far behind, and since all 3 Dryad sisters were going to attack, he was probably the only one left who could protect Ramiris. Alpha and the other girls all thought the same thing, so they all stood up and swore to protect Ramiris. Shinji and the others didn't think it was a good idea and spoke up, we'll also do our best. Oh, yeah, we've been taken care of so well here, so we have to give back. Agreed. The resurrection bracelet lets you keep trying even after you're dead. Exactly. We Imperial soldiers should have been killed a long time ago, but now we have a chance to prove ourselves. Indeed. If I don't, Mr. Gadra will scold me. Even though their powerful enemies were close by, the mood in the control room had calmed down. Ramiris took a deep breath and then smiled in a way that was very bright. So, try your hardest to kill the enemy. Even if you die, you can be brought back to life, so give it your all. Little Dragon King will be there as well to help, so you should win. Everyone agreed with what was said. Then, each person was given a job to do, and the action moved quickly.